Commander Thesic stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie Triumph and watched the human vessel drift on his display screen. The ship was called Meadowlark, a soft name, a prey name. It hung in space like a wounded animal, waiting to be eaten. "How many?" he asked. 3,200 civilians, his officer replied. 847 are juveniles. Thesic's mandibles clicked together. This was good. This was very good. The humans were a young species, Tier 4 on the development scale. They had spread across the stars faster than they should have. They made treaties. They traded. They smiled with their strange flat teeth and acted like they belonged among the elder races. But they were soft. Everyone knew this. "Process them," Thesic ordered. "Separate the adults from the young. The children go to the holding facility on Valkyrie Prime. The adults go to labor assignment." "Commander, standard protocol suggests keeping family units together to reduce resistance. Human families are their weakness. Separated, the adults will comply to protect their young. This is basic leverage." The officer bowed and left to carry out the order. Thesic settled into his command chair. This capture would bring him recognition. The humans had been pushing into Valkyrie border space. Their colony ships appeared like insects, breeding and spreading. The Dominion had warned them. The humans had smiled and nodded and kept coming anyway. Now they would learn. The processing took 6 hours. Thesic watched the reports scroll across his screen. The humans screamed when their children were taken. Some fought. Those were subdued with pain sticks. Most simply went silent, their eyes tracking their young until the doors closed between them. One human female had to be sedated. She had broken a guard's arm with her bare hands before they brought her down. Thesic noted this in his report as evidence of human emotional instability. The children were loaded onto transport ships. The youngest ones cried. The older ones did not. They held the small ones and whispered to them. One human girl, perhaps 9 or 10 years old, organized the others into groups. She moved through the transport hold like a small general, assigning older children to watch younger ones. Strange behavior, but irrelevant. Thesic was reviewing resource allocation when his communications officer interrupted. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission. Priority signal." "From the human government?" "No, sir. From the Rithani Collective." Thesic's mandibles went still. The Rithani had never contacted the Valkyrie Dominion directly. They were a neutral species, old, quiet. They kept to themselves and judged everyone from a distance. "Put it through." The screen flickered. A Rithani face appeared. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. All 4 were wide open. The Rithani did not blink. "Release them." Thesic leaned forward. "I do not recognize your authority to make demands of the Dominion." "This is not a demand. This is begging." The Rithani's voice had a strange quality. It took Thesic a moment to identify it. Fear. "You do not understand what you have done," the Rithani continued. "Release the small ones, the juveniles. Do it now. Do it before the humans learn what has happened. The humans are a Tier 4 species. They will negotiate for the return of their young. This is how leverage works." The Rithani made a sound. It might have been a laugh. It was not a happy sound. "You think this is leverage. You think you hold power over them." The remaining one fixed on Thesic, like a targeting beam. "We have watched your species for 800 years. You are clever. You are ruthless. You have built an empire through calculated cruelty. Thank you." It was not a compliment. Clever species make clever mistakes. Ruthless species cannot imagine what lies beyond ruthlessness. The eye blinked once. "We are begging you, Commander. We are begging you as one living thing to another. Release the children. Tell no one you took them. Perhaps the humans will show mercy. The transmission ended. Thesic sat in silence for a long moment. Then he laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge. His officers laughed with him, though they did not know why. The Rithani have lost their nerve, Thesic announced. They see a young species and imagine threats that do not exist. His communications officer made a small sound. Commander? What? We have another incoming transmission. From the Miravani Unity. Put it through. The Miravani ambassador appeared. Her scales were pale. She was shaking. Commander Thesic, I speak on behalf of the Unity Council. We urge you in the strongest possible terms to release the human juveniles immediately. We are prepared to offer substantial compensation for this act of mercy. Before Thesic could respond, another alert sounded. Commander, incoming transmission from the Ketsul hierarchy. Then another alert. Transmission from the Hollow Choir. Another. Transmission from the Drendari hegemony. Another. 17 transmissions. Then 31. Then 50. Every major species in the sector was calling. The communications board lit up like a dying star. Officers scrambled to manage the flood. Thesic stood slowly. His mandibles had stopped clicking. The bridge had gone quiet, except for the endless chiming of incoming signals. What, he said softly, is happening? His communications officer looked up at him. The young Velkari's eyes were very wide. Sir, I do not know, but they all seem to be afraid. Of what? Of the humans? Thesic's voice rose. They are a Tier 4 species. They have modest ships and limited range. They are 90 light-years away. The officer swallowed. Sir, the Hollow Choir has sent a mathematical message. Our translation systems have processed it. And? It is a probability calculation. Single variable output. Read it. The officer's voice trembled. Extinction probability. Near certain. The bridge went silent. Outside, in the vast darkness of space, the meadowlark continued to drift, empty now. A hollow shell. And 90 light-years away, on a planet called Earth, the first parents were just learning that their children had not arrived at the colony world. The screaming had begun, but it would not last long. Soon, there would only be silence. The transmissions kept coming. Thesic had stopped counting at 200. His communications officers worked in shifts, logging each message, categorizing each plea. Some species offered money. Some offered territory. The Miravani offered to trade 3 of their own colony worlds for the safe return of the human children. 3 worlds, for children that were not even theirs. Thesic did not understand. He sat in his private chamber and studied the messages, searching for the pattern, the logic, the reason behind this mass hysteria. There was none. Or rather, there was one reason, but it made no sense. Everyone was afraid of the humans. A chime sounded. His aide entered. Commander, Ambassador Yevith of the Drendari hegemony has arrived. He requests an immediate audience. The Drendari. Thesic straightened in his seat. The Drendari were ancient. Their empire had existed when the Velkari were still climbing out of their oceans. They did not visit. They did not request audiences. They sent written communications and expected obedience. Send him in. Ambassador Yevith was old even by Drendari standards. His shell had faded to a pale gray. His speaking tendrils moved slowly, as if each word cost him effort. He did not sit. He stood in the center of Thesic's chamber and fixed all 6 of his eyes on the commander. You have made an error, Yevith said. His voice was like stones grinding together. So I have been told, repeatedly. You have been told. You have not listened. Yevith's tendrils curled. I will tell you a story, Commander. Then you will listen. Thesic spread his mandibles in what might have been a smile. I enjoy stories. This one will not bring you joy. Yeveth was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. 62,000 years ago, before your species had discovered fire, there was a civilization called the Mortaxan hierarchy. They were a Type 2 species. Do you understand what that means? They could harness the energy of their star. They could harness the energy of any star. They had 12 billion citizens, 900 capital vessels. They controlled 47 systems. Yeveth paused. They were, by any measure, one of the great powers of that age. What happened to them? The humans happened. Thesic went still. The Mortaxans encountered humanity during an expansion phase. Humans were primitive then, pre-spaceflight. They had colonies on only a few worlds, transported there by other species, who found them useful for labor. Yeveth's tendrils trembled. The Mortaxans established a research outpost near one of these colonies. They wished to study the humans, to understand why so many species found them useful. A reasonable scientific interest. Yes, very reasonable. The researchers took 11 human children for study. They were gentle. They did no harm to the young. They simply wished to observe them. And the humans asked for their children back. The Mortaxans refused. Scientifically valuable subjects could not be returned. Standard protocol. Thesic felt something cold move through his body. What did the humans do? Nothing, at first. Yeveth's eyes dimmed. They went quiet. All human communication in Mortaxan space ceased. Trade stopped. Human workers on Mortaxan worlds walked away from their posts. They did not fight. They did not protest. They simply stopped. That seems like a mild response. It was not a response. It was preparation. Yeveth moved closer. His voice dropped to something like a whisper. Commander, what happened next has been removed from most historical records. The elder species do not speak of it. We have agreed, across all our divisions and conflicts, to keep this memory quiet. Because the memory itself is dangerous. The humans came. All of them. Every human who could reach Mortaxan space came. They came in ships that should not have been able to fly. They came in vessels held together, with hope and hate. They came across distances that should have taken years, and they crossed them in months. How? We do not know. We have never understood how humans move when their young are threatened. The math does not work. The physics does not permit it. And yet they come. Thesic's mandibles clicked rapidly, a nervous habit. The Mortaxan fleet was 900 capital vessels. The human fleet was... Yeveth stopped. There was no human fleet. There were farmers and miners and teachers and builders and scientists and criminals and priests. They came in cargo ships. They came in shuttles. They came in anything that could hold air and move through space. How many? We do not know. Our records say enough. The Mortaxans destroyed thousands of human vessels. Tens of thousands. It did not matter. More came. Always more. The chamber was very cold now. The Mortaxans offered to return the children. The humans did not respond. The Mortaxans offered territory, resources, anything. The humans did not respond. They had stopped talking. What did they want? They wanted their children, and by then, Commander, they wanted something else. Yeveth's tendrils went still. They wanted the Mortaxans to never exist again. Silence. The homeworld? Debris. An asteroid belt now. The humans named it. They call it Reminder. It broadcasts a single phrase in 400 languages, every hour, forever. What phrase? Yeveth's voice cracked. They were 7 years old. Thesic could not speak. The 11 children were recovered, unharmed. The humans took them home. Then they came back. Yeveth's eyes were leaking fluid now. The Drendari did not cry. This was something else. They came back for 50 years, Commander. Every Mortaxan colony, every outpost, every ship, they found them all. They did not stop until the Mortaxan species was a memory. Until children in Mortaxan schools were a myth that other species used to frighten each other. Surely this is exaggeration. Surely some survived. None. But that's genocide. That is humanity, Commander. Yeveth stepped back. That is what lives inside them. They hide it behind their smiles and their trade agreements and their soft voices. But it is there, waiting. And you have woken it. The chamber door opened. Fesic's aide stood in the entrance, her face pale. Commander, the humans have responded to our communication. What do they say? They sent one message, one question. The aide's voice shook. They asked, where are they? Then they went dark. All human channels, all frequencies, nothing. Yeveth moved toward the door. He paused at the threshold. When humans go quiet, Commander, it means they have stopped being individuals. They have become one thing, one mind, one purpose. He looked back, and all 6 of his ancient eyes held something that might have been pity. You have 90 light years of space between you and Earth. You think this will save you. Will it not? Distance does not protect you from humans. It only gives them time to get angry. Yeveth left. Fesic sat alone in his chamber. Outside, his empire continued to function. Factories produced. Citizens lived their lives. None of them understood what was coming. But Fesic was beginning to. He opened a communication to the holding facility on Valkyrie Prime. The warden's face appeared, calm and professional. Status of the human juveniles? Compliant, Commander. Unusually so. The older ones are organizing the younger ones, teaching them songs and games. It is strange. Strange how? They do not seem afraid. The warden hesitated. One of them, a male juvenile, looked directly at a surveillance drone today. He smiled. What did he say? He said, "You're in so much trouble." The transmission ended. Fesic stared at the blank screen for a very long time. Day 6. The human channels remained silent. No transmissions, no threats, no demands. Just empty static where a civilization used to be. Fesic had ordered his intelligence division to monitor every human frequency. They found nothing. Human trade ships had turned around mid-voyage. Human embassies on a dozen worlds had closed without warning. Human research stations had gone dark. It is like they have ceased to exist, his intelligence chief reported. But they had not ceased to exist. Fesic knew this. They were out there, somewhere, doing something. The silence was not absence. It was preparation. He hated that he did not know for what. What do other species do before war? He asked his chief. They threaten, Commander. They posture. They negotiate. Conflict is communication. And the humans? The humans are not communicating. Fesic dismissed his chief and sat alone with the silence. Day 8. The Admiralty held an emergency session. 12 of the highest-ranking Valkyrie gathered around a planning table, their mandibles clicking in agitation. "We should return the children," Admiral Kef said. "End this before it escalates." "We do not submit to intimidation," Admiral Vorn countered. "If we surrender these prisoners, we announce to the galaxy that any species can threaten us into compliance. The humans have not threatened us. They have not said anything. That is the threat." Fesic listened as his admirals argued. They were afraid. He could smell it in the air. But they were also proud. The Valkyrie had built an empire on pride. They could not simply release prisoners because other species told scary stories. "What is our defensive capacity?" Fesic asked. Admiral Keth pulled up the tactical display. 400 capital ships currently in home space, 2,000 support vessels. Our orbital defense network is fully operational. We can withstand any conventional assault. And the humans? 90 light-years away. Their fleet is modest, perhaps 200 military vessels total. The math does not work, Commander. They cannot project force across that distance. The Mortaxans had 900 ships. The room went quiet. That was 60,000 years ago, Admiral Vorn said. Humans were primitive then. They have not shown such capabilities in modern times. Perhaps because no one has been foolish enough to take their children. More silence. Day 9. The Quetzal hierarchy sent a gift. A set of gravitic coordinates in deep space, far from any known civilization. A hiding place. They are offering us a place to run, Fesic's aide explained, if we wish to evacuate. Fesic deleted the message. Day 10. The holding facility on Velkari Prime sent daily reports. Fesic read each one with growing unease. The human children were not behaving like prisoners. The 9-year-old girl had organized the others into what the warden called a small society. The older children taught the younger ones. They held classes on mathematics, reading, history. They sang songs together. They played games with rules that the Velkari guards could not understand. They have established a routine, the warden reported. They wake at the same time. They eat at the same time. They sleep at the same time. It is very organized. Are they planning something? I do not think so, Commander. They seem to be waiting. Waiting for what? They do not say, but they are very calm. Day 11. A human boy, perhaps 8 years old, approached a Velkari guard during meal distribution. The guard prepared for trouble. The boy simply looked up at him with large brown eyes. Do you have children? The boy asked. The guard did not respond. You should send them somewhere safe, the boy said, before everyone gets here. Everyone? The boy smiled. It was a gentle smile. Patient. Everyone. He walked away and rejoined his group. The guard reported the incident. It was filed with the other strange behaviors. Day 12. Fesic was in his command chamber when the alert came. Commander, long-range sensors have detected an anomaly at the edge of the system. Define anomaly. We are attempting to classify it now. The sensor officer's voice was strange. Commander, we are detecting multiple contacts. How many? 700. Tessic stood. Correction, 2,000 contacts. That cannot be right. 3,000 contacts. 4,000. The officer's voice rose. Commander, they keep appearing. Every time we scan, there are more. Fesic moved to the main display. His mandibles went still. The edge of the Velkari system looked like it was developing a disease. Points of light bloomed in the darkness, spreading, multiplying. Each point was a ship. Each ship was coming closer. What are they? Fesic whispered. His officer ran identification protocols. The results made no sense. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger transports, luxury yachts. The officer looked up, his eyes wide. Commander, these are not military ships. They are civilian vessels. Armed? Some of them. Badly. We are detecting plasma weapons welded to cargo hulls. Mass drivers attached to mining equipment. One vessel appears to be a hospital ship with missile pods mounted on the exterior. How many now? 8,000. 10,000. The officer made a sound like choking. 14,000 confirmed contacts, and still counting. 14,000 ships. The Velkari had 400 capital vessels. But these were not warships. These were garbage scows and freight haulers and passenger liners. They were held together with patches and prayers. Their weapons were improvised, primitive, laughable. They cannot possibly think they can fight us with this, Admiral Vorn said. They do not think, Fesic replied. His voice sounded far away, even to himself. They are not thinking anymore. A new transmission cut through all Velkari channels. A human woman's face appeared on every screen. Middle-aged, gray streaks in her dark hair. She looked tired. "My name is Captain Elena Vasquez," she said. "I am a freight hauler. I move grain between colony worlds. That is my job. That was my life." She paused. "I was 800 light-years away when I heard. 800 light-years. Do you understand what that means? It means I should not be here. It means the journey should have taken me years. It means every law of physics says I cannot be in this system for a very long time." Another pause. Her eyes were very steady. "I turned my ship around the moment I heard. I burned so hard I cracked my reactor housing. I vented atmosphere twice. I nearly died 4 times. None of that mattered. I came anyway." She leaned forward. "I have a daughter. She is 26 years old. She is safe on Earth. She was never in danger. I came anyway." Behind her, through a viewport, Thesic could see other ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands. A river of light, flowing toward his world. "You do not have to understand us," Captain Vasquez said. "You do not have to agree with what we are. You just have to give them back." The transmission ended. Thesic looked at his officers. They looked back at him. No one spoke. On his display, the number of contacts reached 18,000 and continued to climb. And in the holding facility on Velkari Prime, the human children began to sing. All 847 voices rising together, filling the halls with a melody that the Velkari guards did not recognize. It sounded like a lullaby. 23,000 ships. Thesic watched them approach on his tactical display. They filled the screen like a swarm of insects. Each one a different size, a different shape, a different level of falling apart. Some were sleek and fast, some were old and slow. Some trailed smoke and debris as they flew. They came anyway. "Transmit our surrender terms," Admiral Vorn urged. "Tell them we will release the children. Tell them we will pay reparations. Tell them anything." "I have tried," Thesic replied. "They are not responding." "Then try again." "They have stopped listening." Thesic turned from the display. "Ambassador Yevith warned me. When humans go quiet, they have become one thing, one purpose. They are not listening because there is nothing left to say." "Then what do they want?" "They want their children." "We will give them their children." "Yes, but they will take them." Thesic understood this now. Giving was surrender. Taking was dominance. The humans were not coming to negotiate. They were coming to demonstrate, to prove something to themselves and to the galaxy. They were coming to remind everyone what happened when you touch their young. "All ships to defensive positions," Thesic ordered. "Prepare the orbital defense grid. Target the largest vessels first." His admirals rushed to obey. The Velkari fleet formed a wall between the approaching swarm and Velkari Prime. 400 capital ships, 2,000 support vessels, the finest military technology in the sector. It was not enough. Everyone in the room knew this. But they were Velkari. They would not simply wait to die. The first human ships entered weapons range. They did not slow down. They did not form attack patterns. They simply flew forward, straight toward the Velkari lines, as if the weapons pointed at them did not exist. "Fire," Thesic ordered. The space between the fleets lit up with plasma and missiles and mass driver rounds. Human ships exploded. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Debris scattered across the void like burning rain. The swarm did not stop. For every ship that died, 10 more took its place. They poured through the gaps in the Velkari lines, absorbing fire, drawing targeting systems away from critical areas. A cargo hauler the size of a small moon crashed directly into a defense platform, sacrificing itself to create an opening. "The pilot of that vessel," a sensor officer reported, voice shaking. "We intercepted her final transmission." "What did she say?" "She was singing. A children's song. Something about sunshine." Thesic closed his eyes. The battle, if it could be called a battle, lasted 19 minutes. 19 minutes for the greatest military force in the sector to be torn apart by farmers and teachers and freight haulers. 19 minutes for 400 capital ships to be overwhelmed by sheer numbers, sheer fury, sheer refusal to stop dying. A generation ship rammed Thessic's flagship. The ancient vessel must have been 200 years old, its hull patched 1,000 times, its engines held together by hope. It punched through the flagship's shields and lodged itself in the superstructure like a broken tooth. Humans poured out of the wreckage. They were not soldiers. Thessic could see them on the security feeds. Old men with gray hair, young women with bandaged hands, a teenager carrying a plasma cutter like it was a sword. They fought through the corridors of his ship. More kept coming. "Commander," his aide reported, "ground teams have reached the holding facility." Thessic watched the feeds from Velkari Prime. Human shuttles landed in the facility courtyard, crashing more than landing, their hulls scorched and broken. People tumbled out before the ships had fully stopped. They ran toward the building where the children were held. The guards fired on them. Humans fell. More came. A woman took 3 plasma bolts to the chest and kept running for another 10 steps before she collapsed. The man behind her leaped over her body without slowing down. "Open the doors," Thessic ordered. "Commander? Open the facility doors. Let them through." "But they will get through anyway. How many more must die?" The doors opened. The humans flooded into the holding facility. They spread through the corridors like water through cracks, calling out names, searching every room. Many of them were crying. All of them were running. The first adult human reached the children's quarters. He was old, 70 at least, gray hair plastered to his head with sweat and blood. He wore the uniform of an engineering crew, patched and worn. The 9-year-old girl who had organized the other children looked up at him. "Hello," she said. The old man fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his face. He could not speak. The girl walked up to him and patted his weathered cheek. "It is okay," she said. "We knew you would come." The old man made a sound. It was not a word. It was something older than words. All around the facility, scenes like this played out. Adults who had never met these children, who had crossed impossible distances to reach them, falling to their knees and weeping. Children comforting them, soothing them, telling them everything would be all right. "Who are you?" a Velkari guard asked one of the rescuers. The human was a young man, barely 20, with burns covering half his face. "I am nobody," the young man replied. "I am a cook on a mining station. I have no children. I have never met any of these kids." "Then why did you come?" The young man looked at him. His eyes were very calm. "Because they are children. Because someone took them. Because that is not allowed." He picked up a toddler who was reaching for him. The toddler grabbed his shirt and held on tight. "You do not understand," the young man said. "You cannot understand, but you will remember." On the flagship, Thessic surrendered. The human boarding parties accepted his surrender without violence. They were not interested in him. They were not interested in revenge. They just wanted the children. All 847 were recovered. Not one was harmed. The humans counted them, checked them, held them. Then they began loading them onto ships for the journey home. Captain Elena Vasquez personally carried a sleeping infant to her battered freighter. The baby was perhaps 6 months old, too young to remember any of this. "I never had children," Vasquez said to no one in particular. "I always said I was too busy, too focused on my work." She looked down at the sleeping face. "I was wrong." She carried the child aboard and found a safe place for her to sleep. The human fleet began to withdraw. They took their living and their dead. They left behind the wreckage of thousands of ships, the bodies of tens of thousands of their own. But they took the children, all of them, every single one. Thessic stood on what remained of his bridge and watched them go. His mandibles hung loose. His eyes were empty. "What are we supposed to do now?" his aide asked. Fesic did not answer for a long time. "We remember," he said. "We remember what we learned today." What did we learn? Fesic looked at the retreating lights of the human fleet. So many had died. So many had sacrificed everything for children they had never met. "We learned that we are not the most dangerous thing in the galaxy," he said. "Not even close." The war lasted 19 minutes. The aftermath lasted a generation. The Velkari fleet was gone, not destroyed, removed. Pieces of ships drifted in orbit around Velkari Prime like a belt of metal and memory. The orbital defense grid, which had taken 300 years to build, was scattered across the void in chunks no larger than a transport shuttle. Fesic survived. He was not sure if this was mercy or punishment. The humans took their children and left. They made no demands. They seized no territory. They did not ask for reparations or apologies or acknowledgement of any kind. They simply left. This was, somehow, worse than conquest. When a conqueror takes your world, you become part of their story. You are absorbed. You continue to exist within a larger whole. But the humans did not want the Velkari. They did not want anything from them. They had come for the children. They had taken the children. Everything else was irrelevant. The Velkari government collapsed within 6 months. Fesic watched it happen from his detention cell. He had been arrested for war crimes, though no one could agree which authority should try him. The humans did not care enough to prosecute. His own people did not care enough to defend. A provisional council took power. Their first act was to sign a reparations agreement with the United Earth government. The humans accepted the agreement. They did not negotiate. They did not even read the terms. "Whatever you think is fair," the human ambassador said. "We did not come for money." The ambassador was a young woman. She had lost her father in the battle. His ship had been one of the first to reach the orbital defense grid. He had rammed his freighter into a weapons platform to create an opening for the ships behind him. "I am sorry for your loss," the Velkari council leader said. The ambassador smiled. It was not a happy expression. "My father worked in a warehouse for 40 years, she said. "He never did anything important, never made history, never changed the world." She paused. "He died singing a lullaby. The rescue teams found the recording on his ship's black box. He was singing to children he had never met, children he would never see, children who would never know his name." "Why do you tell me this?" "Because I want you to understand what you faced. Not soldiers, not warriors, fathers, mothers, grandparents, people who spent their whole lives being ordinary." The ambassador leaned forward. "You did not fight an army. You fought everyone. And everyone won." The reparations were paid. The Velkari economy shattered under the weight. It would take decades to recover. No one complained. No one suggested that the terms were unfair. The galaxy had watched what happened when the humans came. No one wanted to be the species that defended the Velkari. 1 year after the battle, the Galactic Compact held an emergency session. Representatives from every major species attended. The topic was simple. How do we make sure this never happens again? The Rafani ambassador proposed the solution. Article 77 Human, she read aloud. "No species, government, or entity shall detain, harm, or threaten human juveniles under any circumstances, for any reason, regardless of conflict status." The chamber was silent. "This seems extreme," the Moravani delegate said. "We do not have such protections for our own young." "Your young are not human young." The Rathani's 4 eyes scanned the room. "Your young do not summon their entire species across impossible distances. Your young do not turn freight haulers into warships and accountants into soldiers. Your young are young. And human young? Human young are protected by something we do not understand. by something we cannot predict, by something that turns ordinary beings into weapons. The Rathani paused. This law does not protect humans. It protects everyone else. The vote was unanimous. Not a single dissent, not a single abstention. Article 77 Human was written into the fundamental code of galactic law. It was translated into 900 languages. It was taught in schools on 1,000 worlds. Every species with any contact with humanity memorized it. Do not touch the children. Do not threaten the children. Do not even make the children uncomfortable. Because if you do, they will come, all of them, and they will not stop. 1 year to the day after the children were returned, a new object appeared in orbit around the wreckage of the Velkari defense station. It was a beacon. Simple construction, basic materials. It looked like something built in a garage. It broadcast a message on all frequencies in 900 languages, repeating every hour. 847, all recovered, all safe. A pause. They were children. The beacon would broadcast for the next 10,000 years, solar-powered, self-repairing, designed to outlast civilizations. The humans called it Reminder 2. The 9-year-old girl who had organized the children in the holding facility grew up. She specialized in early childhood education. She wrote books about how to help children cope with trauma. She never spoke publicly about what had happened. She did not need to. But sometimes, when her students asked her why humans protected their young so fiercely, she would smile and tell them a story. A long time ago, she would say, some aliens thought they could take human children. They thought we were soft. They thought we were weak. They thought we would negotiate. The children would lean forward, eyes wide. What happened? They would ask. Everyone came, she would reply. Mothers and fathers and grandparents and strangers. People who had never held a child in their lives. They came from everywhere. They crossed impossible distances. They gave everything they had. Why? The teacher would look at her students. Human children, small and fragile and precious beyond measure. All of you, every child everywhere, and we do not leave our children behind. Far away, in the darkness between stars, the beacon continued to broadcast. All recovered, all safe. They were children. And somewhere, on 100,000 worlds, human parents held their young a little tighter. They whispered promises in small ears. They made silent vows. If anyone ever takes you, they would think, I will come for you, and I will not come alone. This was not a threat. It was not a warning. It was simply a fact, a law of the universe, as constant as gravity, as reliable as the stars. You do not take human children, because if you do, everyone comes. Everyone. Always. The galaxy had learned this lesson. The beacon would make sure they never forgot. And in the vast, cold reaches of space, where the Mortaxan homeworld had once orbited a yellow sun, the original reminder continued its ancient broadcast. They were 7 years old. The two messages echoed across the void, across the years, across the species. A warning and a promise. A memory and a vow. The humans did not ask for respect. They did not demand obedience. They simply existed with their soft smiles and their gentle voices and their terrible, terrible love for their young. And the galaxy remembered.